Hey there, Patty Dominguez. This is episode 93 of the Positioning to Profit podcast. Thanks for being here. And maybe I'm catching you on the treadmill or out for your walk or in the car, wherever that may be. I appreciate it greatly. And thank you so much for the comments that I'm receiving on social. It warms my heart because you're actually listening to the podcast and things and concepts that you're applying that are making a difference in how you're standing out uniquely. So for that, thank you. I so appreciate you. Okay, on this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you how to be more engaging. How to be more engaging. Now, I almost called it how to be more of an authority, but the reality is that it may have gotten confused with social proof, like for example, how to build more of an authority in your brand. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to be more engaging. Because here's the deal. Let's say that you're in a situation where you are put into a place where you want to persuade, or you're shifting people, or you're connecting with people in such a way that you want to create more of a connection with them. Being more engaging really is what this is all about, right? So the episode is going to be talking about how to apply some of these practical tips and why they matter. And I can tell you, for one, it's a lesson I learned from my dad, as well as a very popular celebrity figure that you probably wouldn't expect. And that celebrity is RuPaul. So RuPaul is a drag queen, and I just find it super fascinating how he's so unique in his message, and he is so far ahead of his time because he's been doing his thing since, I want to say, the late 70s. And so one of the lessons I learned is something that he talked about and wrote a song about. So I'm going to be sharing about that. And I know that sounds super random, but I just literally find it fascinating. So I'll be sharing about that. The name of the game here is that we want to get you to a space where you're comfortable in your own skin, standing out uniquely, as I always say. When everybody's singing, you want to zag. And so this podcast episode is going to go into the very nature of how to be more engaging, how to be more charismatic, how to stand out and connect at a greater level. And so with that, check out the show, and here we go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me, because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Position to Profit podcast. And I have a personal share. One of the things that I find supremely important is to be engaging. I equate it to being as adaptable as possible. And all this leads to being the most influential, or attempting to be one of the most influential people in the room. And when you really think about it, think back to maybe a person that you might have met, somebody that you might have met in a group coaching or in a face-to-face scenario, and they're just so engaging. They're magnetic. They attract the attention. There's just that something about them, right? There's really nothing very special about them at a glance. Like, you may have glanced over them and not given it a second thought. And to be honest with you, this doesn't mean that it only applies to people who are really good looking, because these type of people really stand out, and maybe they just have average looks. Because let's be honest, just because somebody is really good looking doesn't mean that they're very engaging. They can, in essence, be like, oh God, this person was like not a whole lot going on upstairs. You know what I mean? So there's no correlation between the good looks and this person being engaging. Another thing is that they may be fairly intelligent, but nothing that's really standing out. Nothing that's really standing out. But the fact of the matter is that in all ways, they just may be very typical. But it's their ability to engage is what helps them to stand out. I will tell you, when I was growing up, one of the things that my dad always said is for me to be sure to be as adaptable as possible. And the way that I equated it in my corporate career, I'd say I can be at the plant floor or the boardroom, meaning at the manufacturing plants, because I worked in consumer packaged goods. I would go there for meetings sometimes for the different brands that there were new product introductions. And so we would have meetings at the plant floor, and I could be at the plant floor or the boardroom. And that is the one thing I learned from my dad, is to be adaptable. I could literally go to dinner with the CEO of a company or the guy who was washing the dishes and back, and it would be just as comfortable. And so that adaptability is super, super important. But how do you take it to the next level where people who have that magnetism about that have that influence, that they command the attention, right? Where everybody is just captivated by their words. And one of the things that I heard on a song from somebody who I really just am thoroughly entertained by is RuPaul. RuPaul is a drag queen. In fact, you could probably say she's the most famous drag queen out there. And she has a song, it's called Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent. And so I think that these are the skills that are really necessary in order to stand out, in order to be engaging, in order for you to be magnetic, is charisma, right? Charisma are these people that really become powerful, and they are influencers, and they just have that magnetism about that. So you may be wondering, okay, well, how does an average person create or obtain such power and influence, right? Well, charisma. If you look at the definition of charisma, charisma is having that charm that inspires devotion in others. It is the way to compel or persuade, right? And so this differentiation in the way of charisma is so important. So if you have the ability to be charismatic, the world is literally your oyster, because you can be really engaging. You can create shifts in people. You can persuade people, whether it's your customers or your clients in your coaching or in business, or their ability to engage with you, to say, yes, let me buy from you, and I'm not going to hesitate on it. They're not even hesitating. They want what you have to serve them, because of the fact that you're engaging, because you're adaptable, because you've taken it to the next level and are a charismatic person. So charisma, that ability to engage with people at a higher level, is so important. Okay. So the important thing here is, if you're thinking about, all right, well, how do I up my charisma quotient? The way that you do that is you have the ability to have an us versus them perspective on things, like, meaning, listen, I am okay walking away. I am okay being polarizing. I am okay with slaying the dragon and standing for what I stand for. So the question to you is, do you stand for something, right? Do you have a mission in mind, a powerful why that is going to have you stand out, even in spite of the fact that it may not be popular? That also goes into the next point, is that you are not going to be somebody who needs anything. So you're not going to be needy. You can stand alone independently, freedom of any criticism or anything that people may be not in agreement with you. Okay. So you can have that I don't care attitude, or the screw you attitude, because I'm okay standing by myself in my mission, in my purpose. At the same time, you are literally going to draw upon that inner nice guy, the one who connects and really cares about the people that you want to serve, right? You want to make sure that you are showing that care and the patience, and that you really are looking at them as if they matter, right? And so you want to make sure that you're connecting with people at a more profound level, but at the same time being very cautious with your energy and really putting the energy vampires at bay, so that they're not sucking the energy out of you. And then, of course, the other aspect of charisma is having the ability to be a joker and be jovial and be that person that's engaging and being quick-witted. This was an interesting thing that I found, that there was a 2015 study that was published by Psychological Science saying that Being quick-witted is a better predictor of charisma than having a great personality or being smart. So people who are quick-witted and who have shown that the mental ability to connect charismatically have more friends, and as a result, their personality is more engaging. So that is a very much a quality of somebody who's engaging and charismatic. The other thing that you would need is like just to have the ability to understand being as adaptable as possible. And what I mean by that is the ability to adapt to change in any situation. I can tell you that comes from a place of somebody who is really grounded in their presence and their identity and very sure of who they are. So they're not easily rocked. Now that's going to come with time, because if somebody comes along that may be a person of high regard or respect, and let's say they bash you on social, I mean, it would hurt anybody, right? Like it would sting. Or people who have trolls and haters, it stings. It totally stings. But being grounded in your presence, being grounded as to who you are and being very sure of yourself, there's charisma in that, right? So that is something that is easy to feel that sting. But when you let that go and are grounded in your presence and keeping your cool amidst any distraction, is somebody who is showing that they are very sure in themselves, is a person who cannot be rocked. And I think that's a really compelling attribute that not many people have. It's really amazing. So that's the other one. And then, of course, having the ability to engage with people, having the social skills, really commanding the presence of somebody who can carry a conversation. Now, do not think that the person has to be like as extroverted as the other people in the room. That's simply not the case. I know highly charismatic people who are quiet, or they're more of an introvert, and that's okay. But the ability to command that presence in a non-arrogant way, but instead in a caring and engaging way, goes a long way. So when you have that level of charisma and engagement, you can really move the needle in shifting people and where they could potentially go. So I just wanted to share with you, because this is something that is not very common, to be honest with you, that people talk about it, especially as a way to position yourself as different. So when you have that rock solid stability and that groundedness in you, when you can stand just alone in the mission that you have and being unafraid and have this unshakable certainty that you know where you're going, and at the same time connect with people at a profound level where they feel that they matter, right? I had, it was really interesting. There was a CEO of the corporation where I worked at. He had this uncanny ability to remember people's names. Now, imagine this, a Fortune 500 company with thousands of employees, and yet I met him one time, and it was at some kind of an outdoor charity event, and he happened to remember my name. And a person's name is the sweetest sound that they can hear, so that always impressed me. You know, decades later, I remember that, and how he had this caring, the ability to engage and be caring. And he was so highly charismatic and really appreciated and well loved. And that's really what we want, is the ability to engage and to stand out, so that we're stand out as, wow, that person was a remarkable boss, or that person was a remarkable coach. That person really left an impression on me. That's how you become an engaging person that stands out uniquely. And of course, I have to relay this back to positioning, because we always think about, okay, social proof and authority and commanding authority and all these things, but it's so nuanced when you really think about it. And just taking these tips and putting them into effect is how you can be as adaptable as possible, so that regardless of who is on the receiving end of what you have to say, they're receiving it and really engaging with it, and also seeing you as somebody who has influence and somebody who is likable. So with that, I hope these short tips helped in your so like as you take a look at, okay, how can I refine that? Or yes, that's a really good point. I should be more adaptable. It's going to take you a long way, I should say. All right. So please let me know how I can support you in your business. Remember, your message matters, and I can help you to position your business to profit. Head on over to positioningtoprofit.com, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. All right. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. And also, it would mean the world to me if you would take a quick moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. It really helps to get the word out about the podcast and, of course, the featured guests. And lastly, please make sure to connect with me on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm on all of them, and use hashtag positioning to profit so that I can search you out and connect that way too. All right. Thanks so much. See you next time.